Pupils sign no fouls contract to play football at school. This from the 13th of May 2016. Pupils at a Dundee primary school have been asked to sign a fair play contract if they want to play football at break times. Children at Fort Hill Primary in Broughty Ferry took part in drafting the 17-clause contract with staff. It came in response to issues during football games which has been carried into teaching time. Clauses include promising not to foul tackle other players, not to gloat, and promising to keep up schoolwork. Pupils breaking the contract will face temporary football bans. Other clauses in the contract include agreeing to use supportive and encouraging language and not to elbow or shoulder charge. A Dundee City Council spokesman said the letter has been issued by the primary to families following a number of issues that have occurred this school year during break and lunchtime football games. These then at times have been carried into the general playground or into teaching time. Children were directly involved with staff in suggesting contents of the agreement. Any parent with concerns about this should contact the school to discuss these. Gezzie Fizzle, your view on this?
I think this is fantastic, to be fair. I think there should be more contracts like this, especially for youngsters in regards to all sports, right? And I'm not just talking about the agreement not to use or the agreements to use certain types of language, etc., etc. No, that's not it. What I'm talking about is the agreements where what we're talking about is the ability to play, and the agreement that if you are going to play, your schoolwork has to be at a certain level. That's where I think it's absolutely huge, because let's be honest, sport is a wonderful privilege, but the career span and the lifespan of an athlete is very, very short. Right, it's shorter than most people actually work. So an athlete generally has, what, give or take 20 years, 25 years, depending on the sport, give or take. Especially in football, the lifespan is about 20 years.
Yeah,
right. So if that's all you've got, you really need something else to back you up for after. That's why I like what Watmore's done. He's got his business degree?
Yeah.
Right? So when he's done playing football, he's got something very solid to go back to. Very, very solid.
Well, funnily enough, actually, that came up in the Women's FA Cup final, because one of the Chelsea ladies actually, she literally has a very, very good day job, in terms of like investment banking and that. I think it's Claire Rafferty, and it's one of them ones where it's like it's a smart move. It's a very smart move. I think Glenn Johnson's got a degree in economics as well. I think so. It's one of them. It's a smart move, but you know, for me, this having to sign a fair play contract for me, I don't know. I mean, a large part of me thinks this is just PC gone wrong, to be perfectly honest, because like when you get a competitive environment like school football, I mean Gezzie Fizzle, I don't know if you remember, like, what's it in primary school with class against class football, and it's like those matches used to be fun because of the bragging rights. It's on them ones. Clauses promise not to gloat. It's like it's one of them ones where it's like where it's just one of them ones. I mean, saying we beat you yesterday, we'll beat you next week though. It was always very, very well natured. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, I think it's just overkill signing a fair play contract and getting kids to sign it, because at the end of the day, it's one of them ones where this stuff should be common sense. It really should be common sense. I think this is just another way for the school just to go, just to go. You know what? We wash our hands of this. If anything happens, we had it in writing that they'd adhere to it. It's like I don't know, man. I mean, that's my view on it. I mean, I'm not in agreement with this kind of thing. This is the part where I disagree. I think it's one of them ones where if you teach youngsters values and ethics and that kind of thing, you don't need this kind of thing. If you teach common sense and develop common sense within youngsters, you don't have to resort to this kind of stuff. That's just my view on it. That's my view on it. So.
As I say, this is the part where I disagree. I think it's important now, right? And I'm not saying that the games shouldn't necessarily be competitive. Of course, everything has to be good-natured and everything else. But I think one of the reasons why we'd go and take out the whole, we're going to have you enabled to go and brag against everybody else and all this other stuff, right? Once we get to the real competition, which is school versus school, right, and county versus county, etc., right, and being able to go and be scouted by semi-pro clubs, pro clubs, etc. Really, it's about your teammates to get you there, right? Because even though an individual can stand out in a team, the reason why he's able to stand out is because of the rest of the team, right? Nobody gets to where they get to just by themselves. There was somebody else to help them get there. It might not be visible, but they didn't do it all by themselves, right? So what I'm saying is, even with all of that, I think it's to encourage the unity, because in other sports, maybe competitive sports where we're talking about across the county or in the borough, these are going to be the same players that are playing together representing the school. So it makes sense. And the other thing is realistically, do you want to go and have any big sort of turmoil over a kickabout at lunchtime or break time? No, you don't. No, you don't. Especially, and this is me putting it in context in terms of wider news, younger people, unfortunately, have gone and wasted their lives and had lives wasted over a lot less than that.
No, of course, but then I think that's where you teach people better, you develop people better. For me, it's about development rather than signing contracts. It's one of
can the contract not be part of the development? Look,
it can be, but I just don't think it should. I don't think it should get to that stage where you have to
keep your word.
Yeah, but I don't think you should have to sign. You should have to be bound by a contract. I don't think it should have to get to that stage for you to think, oh yeah, I shouldn't really do that. I shouldn't really do this. I just think it should be common sense. And sadly, these days, common sense doesn't seem to be common enough, which is kind of a scary thought.
That was the first thing I was going to say. Talking about it should be common sense. Common sense is not common. We shouldn't even be calling it common sense anymore. We should actually be calling it uncommon sense. Common sense is a rapper.
Yeah, good point. But then there's signing contracts.
The other point I'll make about this, right, in terms of signing the contract is, okay, maybe they shouldn't have to go that far, but they did it the other way and it didn't work.
Yeah, but then you've got to look at why. But then you've got to look at why.
Banging their head against the brick wall in regards to that, they have to try something different.
But then you've got to look at why
this is just something different.
Because
if that doesn't work, and move on to something else. Maybe they'll go backwards.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, let's take Southern Amateur League for instance. It's a case of there have been so many instances where full-grown adults have had the mentality. I've been offered out a couple times for fights, like off the pitch, and I've literally laughed in people's faces and just be like, bro, I'm not fighting you. It's football. You leave it on the pitch. But it's one of them ones where it's like there was one person a few seasons back who tried to offer me out for a fight, and I literally laughed in his face and walked away and said, I'm not fighting you over football. Come on, let's be honest about this. Let's not be stupid. So it's one of them ones. But for me, it's a case of, obviously I've got that mentality that I'm not going to get into a fight with someone over football. But then it's about teaching people a proper way of doing things, a proper mentality. And I just don't think I just don't think like getting kids to sign a contract is the right way about it, because as said, you can teach common sense. It takes time, but I think this is just a shortcut. It's a shortcut method, because then what are you going to do with a kid who doesn't give a damn about football or loves football, doesn't give a damn about this contract, and moves to a next school where they're not doing it? Then what are you going to do? So it's one of them. I think this is, I would personally class this kind of thing in the same kind of vein as NCLB, No Child Left Behind, where it's just kind of a shortcut. It's a shortcut to make it look like development is happening, but really and truly, that's not what's happening. In my opinion, that's just my opinion on this. I'm just saying that's my opinion on this. So, I mean, if any of the Skypers want to jump in, let us know. But it's one of them. That's my take on this story. Just literally reading it out for the first time. I mean, all right, I'm with you in one way in terms of if it needs to be done, it needs to be done. But I'm just saying it should never get to that kind of stage. It shouldn't get to that stage. That would be like parents getting sued. Oh wait, that happens already. But it's one of them ones where it's just like parents. Yeah, all right, let's sign a contract to make sure that you're a good boy this year, and I'll buy you something big for Christmas. It's like you shouldn't need that incentive. You should act right anyway. Like, you see where I'm going with this? This could fall into so many other different things, that kind of mentality. And in a way, it just encourages kind of laziness, to be perfectly honest. Because it's like, well, he signed the contract, he should have adhered to it. What, like, did you put him in situations where
perhaps, right? And I don't want to go enjoy Christmas. Office is.
Sorry, Jezzie, you said? Oh, okay. Might have to come back to Gezzie Fizzle in a second, but I mean, that's it. I mean,
yeah, we're saying about Christmas.
Yeah.
So the whole thing with Christmas is Santa Claus has a list of who's good, who's bad, and if you're good, by the end of the year, he comes along, he gives you presents. If you're bad, you get a lump of coal. So essentially, it's the same thing. It's really no different.
Yeah, but even with that, some would say the whole Santa Claus gimmick is daft because, I don't know if I'm bursting anyone's bubble right now, but Santa Claus doesn't actually exist. It's just a method to get some kids to behave or to believe in something, depending on which way you're using it.
So, as I say, it's a difficult one, but I just think the reason why they are going to go this way is because the previous ways haven't worked. So,
no, fair dude.
They have to try something.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's one. No, I agree with you on that one. At least they're trying something. But I just don't think it should ever get to that kind of stage.
And here's the other bit about that. You say it should never get to this kind of stage, but here's the thing: we're at that stage because, well, guess what? That's what they're doing. So we kind of have to go from there. Unfortunately, the stage that you don't want it to be at is where we are. Because if we weren't there, why would they be doing this?